Thank goodness. Today we're going to be working on the review of Chapter 9. This was the one where you got your reading quiz last time, and we're going to go over that a little bit today, but there's going to be some additional work for you after this. One thing I do want to do is kind of apologize here to you. I've been a little bit under the weather here, and my voice, I'm trying everything I can to kind of keep this working, so we'll hope this works, and I'll just keep trudging away. So what I want to do, guys, is talk to you here again about Chapter 9, and then also about the quiz that you guys took. Now, the reason that I wanted to do this is because, as we have been talking about, how do you read material in some meaningful way that can help you learn in the classroom? Reminder, we operate with what we call a flipped classroom. And again, what that means is you do the reading before you come to class. Then we discuss how to use it. This is how we work things. And in order for you to be successful at the next level, you're going to have to learn these skills. So we are going to work on these, just pure study skills, in addition to the information that will give you a leg up next year when you take the FAA classes in high school. Okay, so this is kind of how we're going to run this. If we look here at the assignment that we had, it was Chapter 9. There are 14 pages in Chapter 9. Not very many. So it really was not a difficult assignment. But you have to know what it is that we're talking about. So the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is this. What is it exactly that the chapter was all about? Well, as you can see behind me, what this chapter is about, it's about flight manuals and other documents. Some of you have mentioned that it's just not very entertaining and kind of hard to stay with it. Well, welcome to technical reading. That's what this is all about. The purpose of this information is so that you know where to go for answers. That's what all this documentation is and what all these manuals mean. And also to keep you legal, which ultimately, from what I've been told by the FAA, is that also can help keep you safe. And that's why it's so important. Is it boring? Come on, of course it is. But sometimes we have to suck it up, and we have to kind of take the bad with the good so that we can do the fun things that we want to do, like, I don't know, fly airplanes. So this is kind of why we have to do it. Okay, so back to this. One thing I want to draw your attention to, while I draw other things, is the fact that when you look at a book, one of the things that you can see here is this is what you're about to talk about. It's something that we refer to as adult learning theory. Adult learning theory is the concept of tell them what you're going to tell them what you told them, tell them again. That's kind of the whole thing about this, is so that you sort of know what's coming. Well, when you look at a chapter with something, flight manuals and other documents, before you even look any further, you should have an idea in your head about what is it exactly that we're going to be talking about here. And that's what the first question here was kind of designed to do. Describe what your assigned chapter was about. So what is it about? What is it about these manuals? What is it about these things? Why is it important for you to know this information? That's kind of what number one is. If you struggled to describe what this chapter was about, you might want to rethink your methods with regards to reading. And I'm going to show you some ways to help you. So when we look here After we get the description of what the chapter is going to be about, you get an introduction. The introduction kind of tells you some of the things that are going to be important. So for instance, if in the introduction you see something here and you see things outlined here that talk about these things, we know that those are going to be somewhat important, right? Then from this, we also understand this part. These are going to be things that a pilot must be familiar in order to fly an aircraft. You've got to either know certain things or at minimum know where to go to find the answer. They talked about this when about being an attorney. And an attorney, as they say, and again, you hear all of these stories, but an attorney is like, it's not even necessarily what they know, but do they know where to go to find the answers? And it's kind of the same thing here. There are certain things that you are going to need to know to be sure. But being able to know where to look up the answers, that's half the battle. So, this is kind of what we're going to be looking at here with regards to what this chapter may be about, right? And I'm not sure why this is so slow today. So the first thing that we're going to talk about here is something called an AFM. When we look at your quiz, question number 2 is, what is an AFM and what does it do? Well, here it is. Here's where you can find the answers to what is an AFM and what does it do. I shall scroll down here. So if we look at this and we take a look, for instance, at this sentence, that's what it is, okay? So this is where you get the basic information. You see that you have things here in red, and below that you get a general description of what they are. These are important places to go for information. You have the general topic of the chapter. Then you have headings. These headings are going to be in red letters in most cases. Then you have subheadings, things that come in normally in bold black print below the red print. Those are going to be the things that you've got to know. But it's how they kind of organize the chapters, and it's also a great way for you to organize your study, okay? So, that's part of that there. So, we talked about the AFM, remember? Well now, here's something else. This thing called the POH. What is that? What is the POH? Well, if you look at question number 3 here, what was that question? Oh, that's right. What is a POH and what does it do? All right? Does it do anything any differently than an AFM? Probably not. Now we look here at some of the preliminary pages. These are items here, subheadings, okay? So these are going to be subheadings. Below the subheadings, we have other things. So you can see additional subheadings. So here's a subheading. Here is a subheading. But notice under the subheading here of limitations, what information you're going to find. So under this, under the section of limitations for the aircraft, you're going to find airspeed, power plant, weight and loading or weight and balance, flight limits, the placards, those little signs, those are going to be things that you will find under the limitations section inside the POH or the AFM. Emergency procedures. Here is another subheading. Now, in this, what do you think you learn under emergency procedures? Well, that is correct. You learn what to do in the event of some abnormal situation here that you have in the airplane. So that's kind of what we look at, okay? So when we look here at question number 4, this is going to be what we're after. What information is going to be listed in there? Well, to find the answer to that, it's all of the subheadings. See all of the subheadings? See all of those? That's the information that you're going to find. Then we ask another question, and this question has to do with procedures. We'll talk about that here in a second. There are certain procedures that you have here that are listed in the subheadings, okay? So there we go. Placards. What are placards? Look right there. See this? Here are placards. And right here, what are they used for? To give you limitation information about the aircraft. Useful information, correct? I think so. So now we look at the next question. What about the aircraft documents that I have to have on board the airplane? Well, look here. Here is another heading. And here begins the section of subheadings. So with this, we can see that under the aircraft documents, what it is that we have to have. So, and they even give you an example. So here's one of the requirements, right? Here's another one of the requirements, right? Hang on a second here. I want to go to this. Registration, airworthiness certificate. You have all of your maintenance logs. Okay. Here's another heading under the types of inspections that you have to have. And look here. Do airplanes get inspected? When and why? Well, if we look right here, this is where we talk about these inspections. We can see that we have this kind of an inspection. We have this kind of an inspection. Here's some other inspections. Here, 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 here. Okay, so there it is, under kind of the sub headings. Now, here we have an additional heading. Minimum equipment list with operations within operative equipment. Okay? So that's another heading. Now then, question number 9. Take a look at that. Let's take a look here. Look, another heading. And here are some additional subheadings to answer question number 9. Look at question number 10. an airworthiness directive. Oh, would you look at this? Airworthiness directives, another heading. This can give you the information here to answer that question. Then we also have this, aircraft owner, operator, areas of responsibility. Well, if we look here at question 11, you can see that there are 5, okay? Right here. Look here. Okay? Then after that, you have something here called a chapter summary. Remember what I said before in kind of adult learning theory? Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you told them. Okay? This part is the tell them what you told them. That's kind of what this is it gives you kind of a recap on what that chapter was about. But in order for this to be meaningful, you have to have a structured way to look at these chapters and to be able to say, how do I organize this and how do I organize my pre-class notes? Yes, taking notes on your reading before you come to class, so that you have these basic sections down, so that when we talk about them, they're not the first time you've heard about them, right? So, here's what we're going to do now. Mrs. Benton is going to hand back your tests. I want you to take your tests, don't erase anything, but if you need more room, you can go to the back. Now, I want you to answer those questions, but this time I'm going to let you use the chapter book. The way that you're doing this right now, guys, is the way that you are going to do your pre-class notes from this day forth, okay? So, you're going to learn how to organize your class notes as they pertain to the discussion that we're going to have in the class. So, you're receiving your papers back now from Mrs. Benton. You're going to go back and you're going to kind of fill in the stuff that perhaps you didn't get on the quiz last week. So, that's what you're going to do for the rest of the class period. I want you to maintain testing silence. Okay, this is not a group exercise. This is for you alone to do. And I want you to use the chapter 9, to fill in the test, okay? Then we're going to talk about it again on Wednesday with your next assignment. By the way, your next assignment is... oh, I didn't get it. Stand by. Hold on. Hang on. Come on. It's going to be chapter 10. So just so you know. Oh, I know what I did. I'm off one. Stand by. Stand by. I looked at the other section here versus this. This is what I wanted. All right. Here is your reading and note-taking assignment for Wednesday. I want you to read this one is going to be a little thick. I want you to read the first 6 pages. The first 6 pages of chapter 10. The first 6 pages of chapter 10 for Wednesday. And I want you to make your notes using this tool as a guide for you to have your notes together for the first 6 pages of chapter 10. Okay? All right. Take the rest of the class period. I want you to fill in, again, this test just like I described. Work by yourself, okay? And then we'll go over those notes again at the first portion of the class on Wednesday. Then we'll get into chapter 10, weight and balance, okay? All right, guys, there you go. Work quietly, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. Take care.